What's up, everybody? I am here today with Ellis of PadSplit, and I'm super excited because this is a concept that's been around for a long time, but there's developers now that put an app together. I know this is a better alternative to long-term rentals. There's higher cash flow. The cool thing about PadSplit, you guys, and we'll dive into this, is that they do a lot of the marketing, screening, and placement and communication for you as an operator. So essentially, you have a property that has 5 rooms, and we can turn this into a PadSplit. So Ellis, do you want to talk about that stuff right now?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. PadSplit's an exciting opportunity for me because this is my 4th co-living company that I've been part of. Previous to this, I was mostly involved in the operational side of things, so helping lease up new buildings and then just managing the members once they're in. With this position, I'm working directly with real estate investors and trying to get them on board to become PadSplit hosts. This means we're working with investors who have single-family rentals, and we guide them through the process of converting the common areas into additional bedrooms, and then we do the rent-by-room property management essentially. So on a single family, typical PadSplit has about 7 bedrooms. Here in Arizona, at least, we're seeing about 9-10 per month per bedroom. So just do the math. The cash flow potential on that is quite high. Yeah, so it's affordable housing at the end of the day as well. So the investor can feel good by providing affordable housing. The renter has a nice, clean, decent place to live at a usually it's 70% of what a studio is in the area. The barrier to entry into our model is quite low, and it's well managed. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Got you. Yeah, that sounds awesome. That was a lot to digest. So let's kind of talk about this a little bit more. Okay, so traditionally, the agency PadSplit only brings on properties that have 5 or more bedrooms, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, usually 5 after renovations. I know some properties already have 5 bedrooms to start, and we can definitely onboard those. The reasoning behind that is if you have a 3-2 that you're wanting to onboard onto our platform, if for whatever reason the 1 bedroom out of the 3 sits vacant for a little bit, that's going to hurt your bottom line. And then just with the fees that we have for our service, numbers just don't make sense.
Got it. Okay, cool. So essentially what you could do, and just so you guys know, I'm actually doing this with one of my Houston properties. We're going to be converting it into a PadSplit. So if you have a 3-bedroom house, what we do is, or what they do, or what you have to do on your own is, and you guys essentially walk people through this, and I'm hoping that you walk me through this, Ellis, or somebody on the team does. So I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Houston right now, and we're going to convert the living space, the living room. We're just going to be adding 2 extra rooms there. So we have about 600 square feet. So that actually is a pretty big room, of 300 square feet, each of those rooms, if we were to do that. So essentially what you would do is you would turn your rooms or your property into adding 2 extra rooms. So that 3-bedroom is now a 5-bedroom, and all the guests do, or they're just going to be using the kitchen. So that would be like the actual common space, right? Everybody else has their own rooms. They kind of stay in there. We talked about this a minute ago. There's just not enough houses in the U.S. There hasn't been enough houses being built. In fact, I was just looking at a statistic, like from 2010 to 2020, there was literally not very many houses built at all. So we know that we're in an issue right now where there's not enough housing, especially affordable housing for people. And I think this is a cool thing where we're able to still, because there's a lot of hoopla about short-term rental operators and even mid-term rental operators that are taking rentable homes from people that are looking to rent. But here's a really cool statistic I wanted you guys to think about here for a second. There is 42 million rentals in the U.S., and 1/3 of the population makes less than $35,000 a year. So that being said, 14 million homes that could be rented, that population is making $35K or less, and is typically a 1 to 2 person household. So that's essentially the clientele that PadSplit is trying to go after. Am I right there?
Yeah, definitely. That's our target audience. Barrier to entry into our model is actually quite low. There's no credit check, but we still do the traditional income, background, and criminal checks. Instead of a deposit, there's just a one-time move-in fee. So, you can imagine if you're making that type of money per year and you're looking to move into a traditional apartment, the barrier to entry is high. Sometimes it takes several thousands of dollars to move into a new place. Sometimes these people don't have that, so this is the solution to that.
Got it. Yeah, I totally agree to that. And I'm just thinking back, like when I first started, if you guys were around, like, what is that, 8 years ago, like this would have been a totally different thing. But let's go to the construction stuff real quick, because I think a lot of people that invest are just like, and a lot of the people that listen to me are investing. They're either new or they've been doing this for a while. So people need to convert their property. So can you talk about that, like what that space looks like? And this is something you and I talked about a minute ago before we jumped on live, is that construction stuff, those walls they can come out. They're weight-bearing walls. So essentially at the end of the day, we can get rid of those. So can you talk about that, why those extra rooms are going to be important, especially if you want to cash flow in today's environment with the higher interest rates?
Essentially, we're utilizing the multifamily model in a single family asset. In our model, after the conversions, after the renovation, it's just bedrooms, kitchen, bathrooms, and indoor laundry area if there is one. But this is intentional because with with the common area that tends to entice people to invite guests over, which are explicitly not allowed in our model. There's no common area furniture to damage as well, and you're just utilizing more space in your home to cash flow. And this model works really well because if a renter in one of the bedrooms isn't paying rent for that month, or they're going through an eviction, you're hedged against that with 6 other income-producing bedrooms. Similarly, if they're violating the membership guidelines that they've agreed to when they moved in, they're leaving a mess in the common areas, they're causing too much noise after quiet hours, 6 other people will report that to us immediately in a 7-bedroom pad split. And then we have a pretty fleshed out customer service team there, accessible 24/7 to kind of get to these issues quickly.
Got you. And obviously, in certain parts of the U.S., there's going to be different prices for somebody to come in to do work, and they're contracting work and whatnot. But the thing is that this isn't heavy construction that needs to be done. It's actually, essentially, it would just be a wall, that you're putting up. So can you kind of talk on, and maybe you don't have this statistic or these numbers, is there like an average construction cost, or it's usually not a ton of work, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It all depends on how many bedrooms you want to add and how difficult it is. I just did a quote with somebody for an investor here in Arizona. He wanted to add 3 bedrooms and tear out all the carpet at LVP. I think that quote was around $14,000. So based off of that, maybe it's around $5K per room. Also, just depends on the floor plan. Yeah.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, there's different people that do these kinds of work. So obviously, you want to get like a general contractor and stuff. But I have guys that I work with that aren't general contractors. They're just laborers, and they've been doing this for years. So that would be a reasonable price. And again, at the end of the day, it's like we have to figure out what the average income that property is going to make, what the added, there's got to be a give and take with the amount of work that goes in with the returns you're going to get. So with the Houston property that we were looking at, I was going to make, what was it, Ellis? I was probably going to make $1,300 a month if my place was booked, and that's by adding 2 rooms on there. Right. So essentially, by adding that adding those 2 rooms, say it's going to cost me $10K to do that, I would make that back within the first 10 months, which that's pretty awesome. Then everything after that is going to be all cash flow. And I'd essentially be cash flowing. My mortgage there is $2K. I'd be all in right around $2,600. So we looked at what, $4,000? It'd be about $4K.
Yeah, $4,000 top line with 7 bedrooms, actually. So we'd be adding potentially 4 additional bedrooms to your place.
4 additional bedrooms. So I'd be cash flowing, like I said, right around 1,200, somewhere in some change. So again, the thought process behind this, you guys, is to essentially turn your home into like a multi-unit, exactly like what you were saying, and you're individually renting those rooms out. And this the ideal customer, that this is somebody that just like moved out of mom and dad's place, or what's the ideal customer look like? Can you kind of break that down?
Yeah, I mean, the beautiful thing with this affordable housing angle that we're taking is that we're casting a very wide net. So anybody who needs affordable housing, I think the latest statistic was median income is 30 to 35K of the typical PadSplit member. 90% of them earn below 55K. The median age is 35 years old, actually. 67% of them work full-time. 83% are employed. So sometimes we get students that are right out of college. They're looking for an affordable place to live. They don't want to go through the trouble of furnishing a place or setting up accounts or finding roommates or anything like that. We'll get traveling nurses sometimes, people that are on contract gigs just temporarily. The $18 to $20 an hour worker, service workers. Sometimes we'll get some retirees that are on a fixed income as well. So, we're casting a wide net. Anybody who needs affordable housing, which is a huge population, is attracted to our model.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. And one of the things that I like about this, and I think a lot of other investors are going to like, and not only the investors, but also the people that are renting these properties, is that you guys give credit scores to these folks that are going to be renting the properties. They're actually getting a positive credit review if they're paying on time, which is awesome, because that doesn't necessarily always reflect when you're making payments. And not only that, but these guests are staying for longer durations of time. I know that I've been an expert in the mid-term rental space, and essentially this is kind of like a mid to long term. So can you talk about lease terms right now, what those typically look like?
Yeah, definitely. In Atlanta, that's our most mature market. I think we have about 4,000 beds there. The average stay is a year and a half, so definitely long term. In our less mature markets, it's about 8.5 months, so it's medium to long term. Our initial commitment from the member side is 31 days. After that, it's week by week. Like you said, if they pay rent on time, it positively affects their credit score. if they don't pay rent on time, it negatively affects it. But they're able to build their credit score with us, and they're welcome to stay as long as they want, as long as they pay on time and don't violate the membership guidelines.
Got you. Okay, cool. So essentially, it's the first month and it's week by week afterwards. So as an owner, would you get paid weekly, or is that like a monthly payment that would go through?
Yeah, you'd get paid monthly. They would pay us weekly. Just sometimes their paydays are scattered throughout the week. They're usually hourly service workers. This gives them a little bit of a buy-in to the process. It keeps them accountable. As a result, our collections rate is actually quite high. The last I heard, probably like the low 90s to mid 90s percentage.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, cool. So then there's not a lot of default in like pay or anything like that. I have a question on this then, because I'm in California. I mean, there's other states that have, laws that favor tenants in a lot of ways. So like, say we had somebody that didn't pay, like how does that eviction process go? Does that fall back on the owner? Is that something you guys help? Like, what does that typically look like?
Yeah, ultimately it does, but we'll support you throughout the entire process. Most of our eviction reasons are due to non-payments, but we have a very good in-house built collections team. Anytime a member's account reaches $300 or more, that triggers a collections process. We go after them. If it gets down to it, we'll have that conversation with them. They can give them the easy way out, hard way out. Usually the easy way out works better just for everybody's interests, and they won't have an eviction, ding on their record. But if it comes down to the actual physical removal of the member, that'll fall on the host.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So it's kind of just like Airbnb or anything else. Like you're gonna,
situation.
they're gonna have to go. It's gonna have to be the owner at the end of the day. But as far as everything else goes, you guys get it. You guys will actually market for tenants. So you guys pay for like Google ads, things like that in certain markets. And then you're also screening, which you're doing a full background check. I'm assuming a financial background check, right? And then you're also signing leases. The lease would go through you guys as well. So essentially, me as a landlord, I'm not going to have to really do very much at all, other than get the bedrooms together and things like that. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, we're like the platform. It's very similar to Airbnb, but above that, we also manage them once they're in. We market the bedrooms. We're on 50 different free listing websites. We also do paid advertising on Google, TikTok, BiggerPockets as well. So we're definitely trying to get the word out. We'll screen all the tenants, facilitate their move-ins with our tech. We'll collect all the money from each individual member. Then we'll disperse the host portion out to them, and then we manage them once they're in. So you can imagine in a typical 7-bedroom pad split, 7 strangers moving in. They don't know each other prior to moving in. Different personalities, different living habits. There's going to be some conflict from time to time. You as a landlord don't want to deal with that. Trust me, and we'll take that up. But
yeah, I could tell you that I did a rent by the room, like the nursing stuff, like years ago, but probably like 2017. I had 2 nurses that they had opposing work schedules. One worked overnight, one worked during the day, and one was too loud, the other wasn't. One of them was taking food from the fridge. It was a whole thing, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, like. And I actually stopped that model. Like I stopped doing that specifically because for me at that time, I was like, this is too much. Like I had a W-2 job where I had a lot of stuff going on, so I was having to be like the middle person between these 2 folks, and it was too much, man. So to be able to have the idea of essentially like having like a co-host, because you guys are kind of like co-hosts if you think about it.
Yeah.
You're taking all the guest messaging away from like me as a working class person. I don't have to deal with the the kind of the jargon that goes on there, and I like that. So don't get me wrong.
I think our tech allows the member to contact the host directly within the first 24 or 48 hours just to establish a relationship. The host isn't required to actually make that communication, but some hosts, they want to provide that hospitality service, and it's a nice touch. But after that, we take over all communication. It's a nice way to kind of be hands-off as a rent-by-room property operator.
Got you. Okay, cool. So I'm thinking about this again right now because in Ellis, you and I kind of talked about this a minute ago, be offline. The way the market is right now, with the interest rates being so high, and me as an investor looking all over the place, like, for properties that are going to cash flow as long-term rentals, that's really hard to do right now, which is why a lot of people are doing short-term rentals, and there's regulations that are coming in, and there's people that are doing midterm rentals, essentially for travel nurses or whatnot. And this model here actually gives the average investor a way to actually cash flow from, say a 3-bedroom, 2-bath that they convert into multiple different bedrooms to actually cash flow from the property. So let's dive into this because everybody's probably wondering, like, what is the average lead time to actually get a booking? So if I got on PadSplit today and I listed my property, and I'm obviously in a more urban market, what does that look like? What is the booking time look like?
Yeah, for the first room to book, on average, we have about 7,000 bedrooms across our portfolio in 12 of our core markets. It's 4 days. And then to get
4 days.
yeah, 4 days. And then to get to 80% filled, it's around 21 days. So I think that's a testament to how, big the affordable housing crisis is. People just need a place to live at the end of the day. And, we're providing that stock to cities that really need it.
All right, so let's break this down. 4 days to actually get your first bedroom booked, and then 21 days to get all of them booked is typically what it's like.
80% booked.
80%. Okay, got you. 80% booked. So if I have a 7-bedroom, I'm looking at probably 5 rooms within that first 21 days.
Yeah,
which would okay, cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's one of the things too is that a lot of people get into this space, and I'll talk about like me for instance. I have a lot of students and mentees that are like, how long is it going to take to get my midterm rental? But there's really not for us, like we're getting contracts, we're doing things a little bit different. It could take a month, it could take 2 months, it could take 3 days. There's really not a time frame for it. So if you're going to have statistics on it, that's really cool to be able to think about. Especially again, it's a different model and different concept. And this is what I want everybody to realize right now. Like the way real estate was in the past is not what it is now. So whatever you've been doing in the past isn't necessarily going to work for the future. And I think we have to come up with creative ideas and ways, which is probably why you guys are watching me, because I do things a little bit different than most people. And I think that as we evolve in the real estate space, plays like this are going to become more well-known. They're going to become more available. And essentially, at the end of the day, you're competing with like Airbnb. So for those of you who haven't seen, Airbnb rolled out a summer release where they're actually pushing 1 day or 2 night or individual rooms. You can actually have a tab now where you can click on per room. So Airbnb knows that this is a huge issue all over the U.S. In fact, we know that there's housing issues. They know that there's housing issues. And a lot of their rentals have actually come from a lot of their income over the last 2 years, 3 years actually, has come from 28 days or more. So that's kind of the future. And I talked about this too, Ellis, like BlackRock or Blackstone, some of these big giant, smart money companies, Wall Street money, is now getting involved in the midterm, medium term space. So like they're starting to think about these kinds of things too. And I think that's kind of like a true statement on when you start seeing smart money get involved in these types of things, there's opportunity. And typically most investors and the general investor doesn't actually take notice of that for 3 to 5 years until those people do that. The smart money starts making moves, and all of a sudden we adapt, we come full circle after they already started thinking about this. And keep in mind, you guys, these companies have like Harvard graduates, like people that literally just data mine and grab information from all over the U.S. And when you start seeing this happen, like it is right now, Blackstone raised $30.4 billion in their latest real estate fund. I mean, this is what they're doing, and it's on Google. Look it up. I think this is a smart way to look at real estate. Again, it's shifting. What's your thoughts on that, Ellis?
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple of really big hosts. I won't name any names, but we have a billionaire who's kind of on board, and his portfolio with PadSplit is large. We have, smaller super hosts who have, 26 PadSplit properties under their belt, 190 bedrooms. They're making a killing using our platform. And they can feel good doing it because they're really providing affordable housing to cities that need it at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's true. And I think, that's been a big push here in California. There's a law that's passing or not passing, and I'm kind of split on it. There's a law it's passing in California, potentially passing, where 15% of the income, if you have a short-term rental, is going to go to, I think it's Senate Bill 584. That Senate bill, if it passes, 15% will go to the state so that the state can pay for affordable housing. Did you know that, Ellis? Were you familiar with that law that's passing potentially?
No, but I do know that in Florida, they recently passed a bill that allocated $800 million to affordable housing. So I think they understand that this crisis is widening, and they're actually doing something about it.
Yeah. So Airbnb has been under heat about this. And again, California, I think if California does pass that law, again, that's going to be 15% of every Airbnb owner is going to have to pay that to the state. So then the state will take those funds and allocate it to affordable housing, construction, building, all that stuff. So, so there's a bunch of different plays in this space. Like you can get I'm thinking about this now, like as an investor, and now when I go look at a property, I might be looking at, okay, is there certain areas that might work as a room? Is there a garage that's connected to the home that I can turn into, put mini splits in there and turn those into rooms? Is there a potential to build an ADU in the back, So it gives you different different flexibility. Is there a certain type of house that you feel works best, like a certain layout, a certain structure? Is there something that the folks can think about?
Yeah. The buy box usually a minimum square footage, 1,100 square feet, 3-2 starter, and usually you can get 2 bedrooms out of that pretty easily from the common areas to have a 5-2 at the end of the day. But the property itself is a non-HOA neighborhood, close to public transport, close to work centers. Should have plenty of parking in mind, either on the property itself or in the neighborhood. In terms of neighborhoods, we're in all the way from B all the way down to C minus, let's call it. At the end of the day, it's affordable housing, so we want these properties to be in neighborhoods where these group of renters already live and work. Yeah, and sometimes we get some premium pad splits as well that get a higher rate per week, but usually it's kind of in this class C plus, B minus neighborhood, I'll say.
Got it. Okay, cool. And yeah, those are typically like the value add properties that people buy too when investors are buying the C class, C minus neighborhoods.
Exactly.
That's really a smart way to look at this. So, okay, I have a couple rapid fire questions I'm gonna shoot at you. What's the benefits of a pad split, lease over a traditional lease? Is there like can you throw off like a benefit from that?
Yeah. Technically, they're not leases; they're membership agreements. Anybody who moves in isn't technically a tenant; they're a member. But yeah, barrier to entry is very low. Security deposit is non-existent. They're just a one-time move-in fee. Usually that's set at around $100, but the lower the better. From what we've seen, again, these group of renters they're cash sensitive. No credit checks, so people who have not so great credit scores can move in pretty easily and then build their credit scores from there. Once they're in, they also have access to telemedicine services. They have access to employment services as well, and then they really can reach our team 24/7. So if they have any issues that are urgent or not urgent, they can either call us or email us. They'll get access to a human any time of the day.
Got you. So would I be able to set parameters? So say like with the Houston property, like I'd want the guests to have 3 times the rent limit, and I'd want them to have like, a 600 or better score. Is there parameters that you set that we could set as owners, or do you guys?
Yeah, we do that internally. So we do a weekly approved rate. Usually I believe it is 3x. Again, no credit check. So that's not in the picture at all. And then when you get a request for a member to move into a room, you'll see the results of their background check, their criminal check. If they're a previous PadSplit member, you'll see their payment history as well with us. So you'll have pretty high confidence in whether or not this member will be a good one.
Got you. Okay, cool. Because that for me is like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm having the right tenants, and that's kind of why I went into the midterm model. I specifically, dealing with like these agencies and nurses and stuff, because I felt comfortable knowing that, they're here on assignment, they're going to take off. So I think this right here would be, as long as I know that there's screening that's being done, that I can see it, and we know that they're making income, like that's obviously going to be really important. Not only that, but you also got to think about, like, I'm going back to when I was like in my early 20s or even mid 20s, like getting my own property. I didn't have the money to buy when I had to rent rooms, especially while I was going through college and stuff like that. So I think there's like this, like, there's definitely a lot of opportunity in that space. So what about something that's looking to house hack? So like somebody that like has a property already, and they're just like, they work, they come home. Like, do you see people doing that, like house hacking with PadSplit?
Initially, we allowed owner-occupied pad splits, but we very quickly realized that it just kind of muddies the relationship with everybody. You can imagine if you're a homeowner living with other people sharing the room, you're kind of, hyper-focused on everything that goes on. You want to make sure they're taking care of the property and just, in behaving in line, let's call it. Another benefit of a member moving into a pad split is they can rest assured that everybody else is screened and vetted for that way. Once they're in, we have a 3-key system. It's essentially a 3 strikes you're out system. So if they violate any of the guidelines, the membership guidelines, a key is removed. And there's a member-to-member review system as well that we have on our software. But people are incentivized to stay in these houses because it's affordable housing at the end of the day. So usually they keep in line. But yeah, they keep each other accountable as well.
Yeah. I can imagine like me living with like, 6 or 7 other people that are coming through. Like I'd probably be watching, like I'd be creeping around, see what's going on, see what's in the bathroom. Yeah. I'd be putting my name on all my food in the fridge.
Yeah. I mean, even some hosts will label their cabinets and fridge space, so it's very clear who has what space.
Yeah.
Some hosts will go above and beyond. This is not required in our model, but they'll provide mini fridges as well in each of the rooms. I think that's a great touch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have one of our first hosts here in Arizona. It was a 5-bedroom pad split that was fully occupied. But one of the members is a 63-year-old lady. She actually was living with her family prior to moving into the pad split. She's a head cashier at Fry's. It's a grocery store that's just around the corner from the pad split. She's become kind of like the house mom. And as soon as she moved in, she said, she communicated with the host. She said, "I'm going to stay here for life." So she valued her independence. She loved her family, but she just wanted to be, just have a decent place to live and affordable place to live on her own. So it's nice to have a house mom. Everybody could use a house mom. I think if there's an older person there living there, just kind of demands respect from the other people. You want to keep the property, well kept and just make it a good experience for everybody.
Well, I could tell you that if it was my mom living there, she'd be like cracking the whip on everybody. She'd be like, "Hey guys, you need to make sure you clean your room." My mom would be like peeking indoors and stuff, and like, "You need to clean your room up."
And also the sandal up too.
Yeah, man. She'd be like, my mom would be calling you up, Ellis, saying like, "Hey, room A, they're not cleaning the room up, so you better double check on them."
There you go. There you go. That's what we like to hear.
So cool, man. So I know that we're kind of getting ready to wrap up. We talked about being on here for about half an hour or so. So I'm just trying to think again, like where the benefits are on this. Like and maybe this is a question that I want to ask. What is your failure to pay rate? Like, is there a collections rate that you have out of all of your, out of the 7,000 listings? Do you have that information on you?
Yeah, I think it's about 95% collections rate.
Okay. So you guys are 95. So you're at 5% probably folks that aren't paying. You're at 5% folks that aren't paying on time.
Sure. We'll collect at all costs. If they end up moving out and still have a balance, the host obviously has the right to, send them to a collections agency, which we highly recommend. So there's some processes in place for that.
Got you. Yeah, man, I'm excited to, kind of get going in this space and really think about, essentially converting some of my units. And even if I buy more units doing this, because again, at the end of the day, it's like, this is taken away from my team having to actually do something, and I can buy a property in say a C- or C neighborhood that essentially I wasn't looking at before, but now like if I get a wholesale deal or something, I might look at this and look at, okay, if I add rooms here, here's what the possibility is. And you guys are covering all over the U.S., but I know that there's certain places that are a little more matured. Can you talk about like maybe like the top 5 markets that you guys are matured in right now?
Sure, yeah. Atlanta, that's our flagship market. We started there in 2018. Approach, I think it's around 4,000 bedrooms there currently. Not far behind is Tampa and Jacksonville. Those are great markets that we're seeing. Nevada is one that's taken off. I'm biased. I'm here in Arizona, but we're seeing great things as well. But if you buy correctly, the numbers will work, obviously. And then you go through the getting a bid for the renovation cost. I'll work hand in hand with you as an investor to kind of analyze your property. So I'll look at it, I'll plop it into Google Maps, look at the neighborhood itself, make sure there's plenty of parking in mind, that it's close to public transport for those who don't have cars, which, by the way, 50% of our members don't have cars. I'll make sure it's close to work centers, anything close to a hospital, university, warehouses, strip malls, stuff like that works very well. And then I'll kind of write some high-level numbers for you to give you an idea of what your top-line revenue could be. And then if you want to move forward, we can connect you with general contractors or realtors or anybody in that network to kind of make this process as easy as possible.
Got it. So you're running all that with a client. Like you're sitting down. I mean, I guess you did that with me already. You kind of looked at my property, but then you'll actually go above and beyond and grab contracting information, all that stuff. So a new investor that's getting started can get access to those people if they might not necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So our value proposition, even before we get paid, is providing the PadSplit playbook with the host. So this will guide them through the renovation process, through the furnishing process, through the onboarding and listing process on our platform, and then we're happy to connect you with our vendor network as well.
Yeah, dude, I'm thinking right now, like if I pick up like sub 2 properties, or I pick up something like really, at a really good deal, like essentially I can go on there, clean it up a little bit, make it clean. We don't have to make these like beautiful. It could be like builder grade, flip type material that we're putting in there, just like you would do with a traditional flip. But then obviously add those extra rooms, and then cash flow and everything would be essentially done through, your help and your management. So that's awesome. That's awesome, man. Ellis, where could people find you? Like, is there a specific site? I'll make sure that I put all the information, the show notes down below, so you guys can get a hold of Ellis and touch base with him. So where can folks find you?
Yeah, for now, let's make it easy. Just email me, ellis@padsplit.com, ELLIS. I'll also leave a link for you to share with your viewers to book some time directly with me. But yeah, let's do some work.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm excited to get my place up on PadSplit. I'm excited that the company is growing relatively quick. So I'm just excited to have, see where this actually goes and see if it works. And obviously I'll give more reviews on how this stuff goes and how it's moving along. But so far I like everything I'm hearing, and we'll make sure we leave stuff down below. And Ellis, man, I appreciate you for being here, joining us here at my YouTube channel. Thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it.
It's been an honor speaking with the MTR King.
I appreciate it, man. All right, take care.
Thank you.